Hi, my name is Tony. I had a two-level discectomy and fusion surgery on February 17th of 2010. Right now it's the middle of June, so that's 4 months ago. I had a seriously ruptured disc at C7 and some miscellaneous stuff at C5-6. The decision was made that the two levels was probably going to be the thing to do, because if I just did the 6-7 level with the ruptured disc, that the 5-6 would probably break down sooner than later, as it was a little damaged in its own way. So I had a two-level. I was experiencing very, very minor leg weakness, very, very minor arm pain and kind of serious leg weakness. On top of that, my hands felt like began to feel like I was wearing work gloves, and I play fingerstyle guitar, so that was a major problem for me, something I was acutely aware of. But the underlying thing was that eventually quadriplegia was around the corner for me if I moved my head too quick to one side, or fell down, or God forbid got in a car accident. So I went from a very minor kind of neuropathic arm pain and a little weakness to a very desperate situation in the course of a few days, and the surgery then a week later. That was lucky for me in a lot of ways, because I had a real trajectory towards the surgery, and it kind of kept some of the worry kind of at bay, but not all of it. And like most everybody, I searched the web, and I was terrified by the things I read. If you look at YouTube, as you're looking at this one right now, the surgery itself that you'll see in the animations and the actual footage is just plain creepy. The web's full of a lot of people who are in very tough circumstances, and there's lots of fear expressed in the chat rooms and stuff. In a way, I was lucky, because even though each surgeon reminded me that the surgery was elective, and that falls on you like a ton of bricks when they say that, I knew that it wasn't in my case, and so I was pretty darn committed to the process. I could talk for a week about this, but the reason for the posting is to offer a successful story for you to think about. There's more of us than not. We don't tend to put stuff up, I think, is why you see so little of it on the web. I'm in no pain at all that's going to be remaining over the course of the next few months. That's all going away very, very orderly way. I have full use of my legs, my arm, my hand dexterity is all back to exactly where it was before. And my surgery is, I think, going to be 100% kind of conclusive outcome, in the positive. So you can see the incision right here. This is there's a cut through here. Oh, sorry, cut through here, and then they get all the way to the back. And a lot of you will get moved to the side in order for them to get all the way to your vertebrae. So there's a lot of messing around with you that goes on in the course of the surgery. Number one thing I would offer is to interview surgeons. They're not necessarily the nicest guys. This is a very, very high skill thing, and intellect and personality aren't always good bed partners. But you're hiring them to do a job, and you need to be sure you're hiring the best possible professional. You might not hire a lawyer because he has a great bedside manner, and you hire them because you believe in their skills. And once you've hired them, you have to trust them. That's a thing that'll make more sense to you as you go along. I had little time, but I chose between an orthopedic surgeon and a neurosurgeon in the end, and I chose the neurosurgeon because although there is a lot of bone work involved, that's mechanical stuff, and nerves are sort of mystical things. The surgeon I chose is a fellow named Dr. Brian Andrews, who works at California Pacific Medical Center in San Francisco. He runs the neurosurgery department there, and he carried on the surgery with a neuro team where they were doing circuit checking on the nerves that they were encountering while they were doing the surgery. That wouldn't necessarily have happened with an orthopedic surgeon, so that was my choice. It's not particularly educated, but that was my choice. He told me what most doctors seem to tell most people in my spot, and that the surgery is straightforward, and that the recovery should be quick, and you'll be feeling better soon. And it may be true in the rare case, but it was not even close to true for me. But the reality is, if he'd said anything else, it might have frightened me even more at a kind of a delicate point for me, mentally, and there was the remote possibility I could have decided against the surgery. That would have been worse. There's no two ways about it. When they tell you that, if they tell you that, I think they're really looking out for your genuine long-term interests. You gotta be patient. I injured myself a few weeks after the surgery by putting my head backward too quickly and kind of injured the level below the fusion. You're very delicate in this time, and your spine is like getting used to a whole new way of being. So you want to just plan to stay as low as possible. Just lay low and drop out of the world until you really, really feel like you're up to it. I mean, my injury probably added a full and hard month to my recovery. Before the surgery, some stuff to think about, you're going to be very, very uncomfortable for a stretch if you experience anything like I did. So you want to secure some living help. If you live by yourself, I mean, I'm thinking like groceries, cooking, laundry, that kind of thing. A friend or two would probably do the trick. You don't need to live in, but you need some help to get some of those basic things done. Secure a reliable source of Percocet. I mean, with the HMOs in the world and some of their fears about turning you into, an oxycodone addict, it's like you may well be that before it's over with, but the pain will do you absolutely no good. And if you can get your general practitioner to assure you that you're going to have access to that, I talk about that as much as you can beforehand. Take what you need to be comfortable. Take fiber. Boy, that Percocet stuff will put your guts to sleep. I just personally enjoyed a lot of that tasty raisin bran and thought it was fine. I also took something called alpha lipoic acid. My doctor advised that, and I think it made a difference. You can look into that for yourself. Alpha lipoic acid. But most importantly, and this has ended up being a key thing for me, is to have a discussion about antidepressants should you begin to have some trouble during the recovery period. I did have trouble during the recovery period. The mess of the pains, minor and major and whatever else, kind of all blending together in your mind with the idea that that this is your cervical spine, and that the pains are confusing which ones may last, and you think of every YouTube video and every chat room posting you read, and you wonder which will be your life going forward. Doesn't do you any good, and it made kind of a mess of me. And so in about the 6-week period, I called my doctor and just had a little quick conversation with him. He prescribed something called Lexapro for me, which is Lexapro is like a third generation Prozac. Interesting thing about it turned me around completely. I mean, I started feeling like my life was had a trajectory going forward. The nice thing about Lexapro is that it is also good at neuropathic pain, which is a nice little bonus. And I understand that Prozac, the first generation, even more so in that case. But the hardest thing for me was the being patient, and the thing that nobody really told me was that although the surgery and the recovery would be brutal in certain ways, you can live through it. And for having lived through it, I'm making this video now on 95% full recovery with no pain that will remain, full use of my legs, hands. I'm back to playing guitar, fingerstyle guitar again. Was not what the trajectory of my existence was before these 4 months. I was headed for a wheelchair as a permanent matter. So good luck to you. The basic thing to remember is the surgery is the doctor's business, so choose as well as you can, but the recovery is your job, and you just got to do a good job of it. So good luck, brothers and sisters. I'm happy I had it done, and I'm happy it's behind me. Good luck.